Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spin Cycle Podcast, the podcast talking to the personalities, the groups, and the brands that make the UK and London just an incredible place to be a cyclist. I'm Cam, and this is NJ.
Hi.
And we wanted to start this first episode, a bit of Q&A about us, and first of all, why we started this podcast. So, NJ, maybe a question for you: Why did we start this podcast?
Just as your intro suggests, I'll start that again. I'm sort of scratching my nose, and that is a good question, Cam. Why did we start this podcast? I think we were in the Isle of Wight, just chatting about cycling, London, the pro scene,
Yep.
and we just enjoyed it. And we're like, let's video it and let everyone watch us talk about this thing because we're so self-indulgent. But
show off for a bit.
Yeah, show off. Be like, name some random Belgium guy who won some like.
Look at all these people. Look at all these people we know. Look how much GCM we won.
I know.
GCM.
But on a serious note, it was more about, I guess, showing off the clubs and the brands. Well, I'd say mainly the clubs because we know of clubs. We know our friends are in these clubs, but we don't know how they started, what kind of, I guess, vibe they have, what their sort of MO is, and I think it's just like a quite a good way of getting to know people in the London scene a bit better. What are your thoughts on this?
I think maybe it's so everyone who cycles, who I know, is a bit of a loner, right? I think cycling's a bit of an individual sport. It's not like playing football or rugby or anything like that. And I think if you look through Instagram or you see people on Strava, it appears that everybody's cycling together and everybody kind of knows each other, right? And what I'm really keen to maybe get out of the podcast is who are these kind of people, or who are these groups, or what are these brands doing that are kind of building that community and making it good to be a cyclist. Like, for years I cycled on my own, and I'm now the other way where I really dislike cycling on my own, and I really enjoy just more hanging out, vibing, than actually riding. So,
the social riding.
I'm
the copy crawls.
I'm just looking forward to getting to know the person that has the fastest time around Regents Park.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to cycling beef and putting forward our agenda of wearing white bib shorts.
It is propaganda. This is a propaganda podcast, really, isn't it? I was thinking of like, how could you make like before it's come out, I was thinking this is just a pyramid scheme podcast. We'll keep telling people, we say that we've interviewed people, and then like nothing ever happens. You get a load of followers, and then who knows what happens. But we are actually making content.
Do you want me to maybe run through sorry, I'll start again. I interrupted you. Shall I maybe run through who we've got coming up on season 1?
Absolutely. Let's treat everyone. Who if all goes well, we're in December. Who have we got in December?
So we've got in December. Sorry, let me start again because you might need to cut this. In fact, you will need to cut this. Sorry. I should have had the schedule open when I decided to actually say that question. All right. So do you want to ask the question again?
Yeah. So Cam, who do we have in December on our pod? Actually, I don't want to.
So
I don't want to call it a pod. It makes me sound like I'm like people who say pod like a cringe, and then here's me being like, "Who's on the pod?" So Cam, so Cam, who do we have on?
Start game, right? 1, 2. Right, sorry. That's a really good point, and now I hate myself that I keep texting people, "Come on the pod."
Yeah.
Oh, who am I?
You said it at Ruler. Maybe we keep this in just us to be like. But when you would be like, we started a pod. I was like, oh no, we're those guys.
I listen to a podcast called Chatterbix, and all they
Yeah.
talk about is how embarrassed they are to be on a podcast,
Mm.
and how they go on the podcast charts on iTunes every day and look and wonder why they're not above it. But all they do is talk about the charts and how crap they are at podcasts.
Well, when I told Christina I was doing this, I was like, your lifelong dream of your boyfriend starting a podcast, it's happening now. It's happening right now. On Twitter, there's always like those like meme tweets where it just talks about like you're like getting to a certain age when your boyfriend says that he's starting a podcast with one of his friends. But anyway, Cam, who do we have on the pod in January? No, that's not that. Cam, who do we have on the pod in December?
You said pod again.
Oh, for fuck's sake! We're just deep. We're deep in it. We've laughed at the people we've become. So, Cam, can you tease the listeners about who some of the guests we have coming up?
Yeah, of course. So we've got Yannick White from CGC,
Love it.
GFTL boys,
Perfect.
Trash Mile, they're
Nice.
coming on. Angry Pablo, they're coming on.
Oh, sick.
And then some of our great friends, Donna McConnell, Gareth Winter, to name a few. So a really good mix, diverse bunch. And I think some of the great people that make cycling in the UK an incredible place to be.
Perfect.
With that, let's head to a break.
Welcome back, everyone. In this next section, me and Cam are going to do a little Q&A just so you get to know our personalities a bit better. So, Cam, mountains or cobbles? What do you prefer watching? What would you prefer riding on?
So, watching cobbles, I think you and I are very similar in that spring classics I prefer watching the spring classics.
I do love a one-day race is good. A one-day race is much more entertaining.
100%. And I prefer that kind of riding too. I'm one of those people, I like putting all the layers on. I don't mind crap weather. I will ride in the rain if I have to. I'll ride when it's like really freezing cold outside. Don't get me wrong, riding in alpine roads where they're smooth and you do 70k an hour is incredible, but I'm cobbles over mountains every day. How about you? What do you?
I've been to the mountains. I've not ever I've ridden on cobbles, but not like Belgian cobbles. I think I prefer to view watching cobbles on TV because that's like the sleepiness, the nature, the toughness of it. But when it's you and you're like 25 mil like time, you're like woo. It's you don't have the speed for it. You have to be going quite fast for it to like bounce and be smooth over those cobbles. So I think I'd rather just like climb mountains, and then you get nice views, take nice pictures, and usually it's quite sunny. I can go out in the cold and horrible weather, but I much prefer going out in the sun. And I feel like every time you see the mountains, it's usually like sunny, right? Apart from if you watch the Giro, where it's like snowy and you can't see any pictures.
So, speaking of, you and I both watch a lot of cycling, road cycling, pro racing, right? And first of all, RAP GCN. If this comes out early December, as we're intending, the GCN app will only have 1 week more to live. Sad day for all cycling fans, I think.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite pro? Who do you like watching? Or who have you liked watching in the past? I know you've been watching pro cycling a little bit longer than me. So all time, current, who's your favorite pro?
I say all time be Andy Schleck and Fabian Cancellara back in the CSC days. Love that team.
My friend.
With Yenzi as well. Just I don't know. There's just something about Andy Schleck, watching him climb, dance up those mountains, and then Alberto fucking Contador robbed him of his yellow jersey.
Oh no!
I was distraught. I was distraught for him. And then Cancellara, if anyone's watched the classics, he's just a beast. there are rumors he had a motor in his bike, but I don't want to believe those things. I don't want to believe those things. He's our Spartan, our Spartacus. I mean, so Cam, who did
Mm.
you enjoy watching when you were growing up?
I'm gonna have to say Fabian Cancellara as well. Obviously, friend of mine, you could say, friend of the podcast.
Yeah,
Maybe a story for another time. But yeah, Fabian Cancellara always. Although I have a bit of a soft spot for Bradley Wiggins.
oh yeah,
I remember, I remember when he came third at the tour. You remember he was running, I think he was running for Garmin at the time,
oh
British
yeah,
Guide,
Garmin, yeah,
and and I think he's maybe even his after cycling career. I think he's been pretty honest and pretty open about what he went through, and I think that's
yeah,
more kind of impressive to me. I know obviously it's impressive winning the Tour de France and being a massive Olympic gold medalist, all that kind of
yeah,
stuff, um, but for anyone who hasn't, just for the next question, if anyone hasn't been on YouTube and seen Bradley Wiggins cycling in the winter for FTJ when he's doing the cross, when he's doing cyclocross, and the guy's talking to a camera and Brad falls off the bike. So we'll put that in the show notes. But
good video.
I text that to you as a reference, and you got it straight away. And I was like, this podcast is going to work.
It's an iconic clip. He's in like all white, and you just see him fall off in the background. But what I like about Bradley Wiggins is that he's got a great personality as well. He kind of makes you
Mm.
laugh, says funny stuff, especially when he's on that bike in like the Tour de France. He's like interviewing like
Oh yeah,
all the cyclists and getting told off about it. Because there's quite a lot of, I guess, pros who are like all they've done is cycle. So when it's kind of like you
mm.
put a microphone in front of them, they're like quite standard. They don't, not to say that they don't have a personality. They're very much like kind of, I guess, reserved. Is because I guess quite a lot of their training is them by themselves, being a pro, and all
Yeah.
they care about and their only dream in life was to, I guess, be a professional cyclist. Whereas I feel like Bradley Wiggins, his other personalities come out, like his love of mod rock, is that what it's called? And just
Yeah.
fashion and all of his tattoos and stuff like that. He's a bit of a, I guess, a geezer. The
Mm.
real question on everyone's lips: what is better, Regents or Richmond? North versus South, the biggest cycling battle there is.
So yes, so I used to live in Wimbledon. Plot twist: I don't anymore. I live in Ripley in Surrey, just outside of Cobham. I now prefer Regents to Richmond. I used to love a Richmond because it was
Yeah,
15 minutes from my house, easy, and I never really used to cycle in town. So I lived in London for 12 years, never really went in, just used to do Richmond, and that's about it. COVID happened, then I started banging around laps in Regents, and now I have a massive love. I feel I was never there for when Regents was like pre-COVID, when maybe it was a bit quieter, but now it's just
yeah,
like hundreds and hundreds of cyclists, and I think that's great fun. And there's good coffee. Rafa's down the road, Via's down the road, Fortitude. Never been, heard it's good.
yeah.
And yeah, how about yourself? What are you? You're from North London, right?
Here's a plot twist. I did actually live in Tooting, and I would bang Richmond laps all the time.
Mm.
And I'd never really gone to Regents. I'd gone a couple times, but I'd always just go Richmond Park because I like climbing on the bike. So you have the like short sharp hill and the long drag. So I was like, oh, this is fun. Do like 2 laps. Think I've done like a big workout. Go home. But I guess from moving to North London, I started hitting up Regents more. And I guess the
Mm.
whole like I'd never really ridden flat and fast before. And when you get to Regents, it is like full gas all of the time. Even chat
Yeah,
laps can get like spicy. It just needs one person to like kick it off, and then it's just like everyone is go.
yeah. Oh, I love
So
that.
it's like I didn't really enjoy flat because most of my riding was like alone. So you're just like, oh, I'm just cruising. And then when it came to like hills, I absolutely blitz it when you're solo. But I guess when you're in a group, flat riding is much more fun than going up hills because everyone's at different abilities with hills. Whereas at flat, you can kind of hide a bit in draft and all of that stuff. So I'd say I guess I find Regents a bit more fun than Richmond, and Richmond's a bit of a playground now with all the, I guess, is it safety measures or is it just traffic measures? I don't really, all the weird bollards that they put up there.
Traffic calming measures, I believe they're technically known as. Bollocks.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like building a wooden bollard on the bottom of a hill is probably not like the safest thing to do. So I think it's time that we delve into some fashion. As we mentioned earlier, we have whitebeard propaganda. Where did the love of white shorts come from? Is it just in shorts? Does it go to tights as well? Are you pairing the white shorts full white from head to bottom, or head to toe, I should say, or is it more just the foundation is the white bib, and then you mix colors around it?
That's a good question. Now, this is a white bib safe zone. Okay, coming from the cold, daddy's home. White bibs are look super pro, and I will say that ignore the people that say white bibs aren't good. If you think of the people that Matthew Van Der Poel looks incredible in white bibs. Mario Cipollini, he's a terrible person, but he did look very good in white bibs.
He's a very terrible
How do I
person.
think? He's an awful person. I think the white bibs is just look super, super clean. There's no room for wearing white bibs with having like big hairy legs though. And I think it has to be full Italian pro on holiday bibs, full training camp. So gotta have the white socks, gotta have the white shoes, white bibs. I have worn the white long sleeve with the white bibs and a coloured
Yeah.
gilet over the top. It was a bold look. I think it's best worn just the white bibs and then a different colour on above. However, if people really enjoy the Spin Cycle podcast, potentially there could be a white skin suit coming out with all of our non-existing sponsors. So we could
Fake
leave
sponsors.
we could leave space. Yeah, we could maybe we could just get fake sponsors.
We'll make up sponsors.
Yeah. So why do I like the white bibs? I think the white bibs is very, very clean. I like the kind of aesthetic of the white bibs. They are a bold choice, and I think you really need to have guaranteed good weather. I don't think they're necessarily bibs for the guys in the classics, unless you're Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah.
And I'm nearly there, but I'm not quite there. How about you? What's your stance on the white bibs? Because this topic will come up in every podcast, so we need to get it out now.
I think I could get on board. There's quite a lot of, you told me I'm not allowed to be agnostic about this stuff, but I can see myself
True.
rocking white bibs because, I am your friend and I want to support you and make you the best person you can be. And in doing so, wearing white bibs on the cobbles in March is like the test of true friendship.
You could be that guy.
I could. What else? What other questions did you ask? Was it just what else do I feel about it? I think pro wise, Mathieu van der Poel, he looks stylish in them. I think your favorite, everyone's favorite, Remco Evenepoel, he looked good in the white shorts. He did it in the rain
Remco's
as well.
overrated.
And then I don't think Alaphilippe had white shorts. I can't ever remember. He was more of a classic black short, white world champs. Peter Sagan definitely
Honor
had
the
white
jersey.
shorts at some point.
Yeah.
Peter Sagan, his white short look was good. I'm sure there must have been like someone who's worn the white jersey in the Tour de France who's worn white shorts as well. Those kits aren't as good because usually it's like the leader's jersey white shorts. They're done without thought of how, like, because they put black bits in places where there just shouldn't be black. You need that pure white, just a pure white. I don't know how I feel about white white bib tights. I think they might be a bit too much,
That's a bit
white.
much
I
for
think you
me.
need
That's a bit rich for me.
I
Yeah.
think I think you need your calves out to intimidate with the white shorts. Whereas I'm like, I think you should just go full white.
I mean,
But
I'm of the mindset that I think that it should be knee warmers only. There's never been a point where I've thought to myself, like, knee warmers, first of all, look quite pro and look quite cool. The problem with the leg warmers, I mean, if your leg warmers have zips, throw them away, get some good ones. But I also can't get on board with the people who just use the full leg.
what
I can't get
for
on with that.
leg warmers or bibs?
Yeah,
Well, I use
the knee
both.
warmers.
Well, I use leg warmers. I use leg warmers with zips. I think I would prefer it not to have a zip. It is a bit annoying, but you know it is like going to be in there tight. And just tights in general. You definitely like. I went out in Regents this morning and it was like 4 degrees. You definitely need tights in that. I saw some guys, really, really a couple in shorts, but it hurts my knees. I feel like I'm at that age now. Like I wear shorts in under 10 degrees. Later in the day, I just get pains in my knee. Like, why have you done that to yourself? So, but I feel like knee warmers. I'm like, you've just not committed. You want to. It's kind of like you want to show how hard you are, but you're also not that hard. It's where I stand
So,
with knee warmers. Of like, just accept the full tight.
so question for you: what do you think in cycling generally annoys you? Overrated, overpriced? What's the one thing in cycling you could throw in the Thames?
Probably like £20 socks. Like, why does a sock need to cost
Mm.
20 or even over? I think I've seen them for like £40 and stuff like that. And also like
No.
mitts, like cycling gloves when they're like £50. You're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that all about? Like, it's not even a full glove. You got like fingerless. Uh, so I think it's just like overpriced cycling apparel, which I know is like
Mm.
fashion is like big markups, and that's why people get into like fashion businesses.
Yeah.
But I think like I want like businesses to make profit, obviously, so they keep going and making nice stuff. But there is a point where I'm like, this is taking the piss. I can't remember the last time I paid full price for any cycling kit. I'm always like bang on that archive sale. That's what I live off because I'm like that's kind of like entering a sort of reasonableness. But
Mm.
I guess when you started buying cycling kit back in 2012, now we're in what
Yeah.
23.
2023. Yeah.
There's been, I guess, a lot of development in cycling kit from it not looking good to it looking really nice and really fashionable now. So I guess you're paying a premium for that. But it doesn't mean I can't moan about it. What annoys you in cycling, Cam?
I'm gonna just list because it's top of my mind. Oversized pulley wheels, ceramic speed,
You
oversized pulley wheel fairing cover. That's complete bullshit. It's not how aerodynamics works. Um, the fact that women's and men's kit actually isn't that different. So it's a con,
yeah.
if I'm honest with you. It depends on brands. I don't want to make a sweeping statement, but there is one certain brand that I know it fits the same because I own women's and men's. I think it's just a bit dodgy. It's not very inclusive, and I'm really not about that. People who go and put winter tires on their bike, grow up, fix a puncher. People who bang on around tubeless. Uh, I've never had a clincher go so catastrophically wrong that I had to call my wife to pick me up, and everybody's had that on a tubeless tire.
Sealant
People
everywhere.
who are weight weenies, like
Do you not
I think 500
respect the
pounds for
National Hill?
titanium. No, no,
You don't
no,
enjoy the hill
no, I
climb?
don't.
I enjoy the
No,
freak bikes because I'm like, there's no way, there's no like, they just look fun, don't they?
no,
If you're into
no,
climbing
no, no,
up hills.
no. I know they say you can't see aero, but if you see one of these freak hill climb bikes and then you see like an aero Batmobile, I know which one I'm buying.
The aero bike always looks nicer. The weight weenie ones,
Exactly.
it's because they like chop off the bars and stuff like that. I think if it looked like a functioning bike, but they made like
Mm.
adaptions, it would look quite nice.
And I'll be honest with you, the another thing that slightly annoys me is the same thing that annoys you. It's the cycling tax, essentially. That I think it was on the Nero show. Shout out Chris and Jesse, but
Mm.
um, the fact that you can buy like an Under Armour shirt for like £30, but if you can't buy
Yeah,
like a like a fashion cycling brand for under 150 quid.
yeah,
Um, we might get into this conspiracy in a couple of weeks' time, but I do know the factory where all these garments are made, and it will surprise you. All of these big leading fashion brands are all made in the same factory in Lithuania, and uh, you know, I don't know if I can. Like you, I bought nothing cycling full retail in years because I wait for the sale, or I shop around, or I buy different bits from different places. So that's what I think. I think because cycling's free to do, you buy a bike,
yeah,
you go ride. The only way the bike industry makes money out of you is charging a lot for the after bits.
yeah.
How about you? So, I mean, fashion, riding. You said you ride a lot at Regents. Where are you going for your coffee? Where are you stopping? Where do you think people should go? Or maybe give us your secret spot, but nothing too secret because this might be a top 10 podcast and you don't want to get rammed when you're getting your little oat flat.
You know, I'd say before it closed, Look One My Hands, I think was like the goated place in London. You had your
Oh,
big
yeah.
screens, you had the friendly staff, you'd get pancakes, a full fry up, or just like a little
Mm,
croissant. Uh, guess now there's not too much in terms of, I guess, you can bring your bike in and stuff like that.
yeah.
So I think in summer everyone's at 40, Fortitude
Hmm.
Bakery. That do They are kind of a little expensive, but you're paying, I guess, premium quality for that cinnamon roll. Um, and you get to sit outside, which is always nice with the benches. That's
Mm,
quite the hot spot. I'm enjoying a bit of Via at the moment. That's a nice alternative one. Um,
yeah.
and then I guess my more secretive one that I enjoy, which my mate Rue and Ollie took me to, was Mousetail. It's around the back of the post office in Farringdon. I can't remember what the road is,
Hmm.
but it's on like a nice little plaza. It's always pretty quiet. There's
Nice.
tables outside, so it's quite nice in summer. They weigh the coffee, which means you're in for it's going to be good. They do a bit of pastries here and there, which are fairly nice.
Mm,
And then even when it's cold, you can literally leave your bikes outside, do a bit of helmet tech, uh, and then just stand inside in the warmth, and you can still see your bikes. No one really walks past. It's just like residents who come in because it's quite a quiet road.
nice.
And there's always like taxis and that going past. And then just outside Regents, there's a San Espresso as well. If you need a quick coffee, that's a good one to go to. Um, what about
Uh,
you? When you're in the big smoke, where you getting your coffee?
so I go Rosalind on,
Ah,
I
Rosalind's
think
great.
it's Queen Victoria Street, where near Bow Church, Bread Street. It's amazing coffee. It's really, really good. They're really, really efficient, and I massively rate them. We've been there a few times. We've been there with
There is about eight
friends.
people, behind that barista bar. One's on
I bought
milk,
some of their
one's on
coffee as
coffee.
well, mate. I bought some of their coffee, took it home. It was amazing.
Yeah,
A little bit spenny to be putting in the old cafetiere, but you
little
know,
French press.
maybe yeah, I love a French press. And when I'm cycling, I'm going to Giro in Isha. I think it was probably one of the first. I mean, Look, No Hands was one of the first, and I think Giro was as well. They celebrated 10 years in business last
Oh,
month, which is
nice.
pretty mega. We are speaking to them about potentially coming on the pod, which is cool. I might go and see them next week.
That's cool.
And yeah, really cool. I like that spot because they show the cycling in there. They've got beers. They do food. They've got spaces to put the bike, and they give you locks as well. So if you want to put your bike on
Yeah.
metal locks on a metal bike stand outside the front, they'll give you like a zip lock, whatever it's called. And I think it's really good for if you're either coming out of London or you're going back. You know, where I live in Surrey, I think it's decent for that kind of thing. So I just got the two. It's Roslyn or it's Giro in Isha.
Yeah. Yeah. As you mentioned, one outside of London. I think the best one I've been to
Cool.
outside of London, northwise, is probably Spokes in Hertfordshire. It's got a nice little wood fire in it. It got indoor bit.
Ooh.
Out back, you got some goats, a little emu. They do some nice toasties. You get coffee and cake for £6. It's decent little spot.
When you said they do toasties, I thought it was you were talking about the emus doing toasties for like a split second.
Maybe the emu is there. I don't know. Little chef, little emu chef. One question I have, we probably haven't really actually answered properly, but what do you enjoy about cycling in London? As in, we talked about the scene, we've talked about, I guess, everything else about it. But what personally, like, what parts of cycling in London do you enjoy?
Really good question. So I've worked all over town in my career. So I've worked in London for 12 years. I've worked in kind of west to east. Actually, I've worked in Knightsbridge. I've worked in Holborn, City, Canary Wharf. Worked all over, and I really just like seeing town by bike. I think
Yeah,
it's incredible. I think the fact that there's now so many cyclists, and you know loads of little cut throughs, and you get a better understanding of London, or you just drop in for a coffee, and it's just a bit more visceral. For years, I used to leave my house in Wimbledon, or I lived in Southfields for a while,
yeah,
and I would just get on the tube. It was worse when I was in Canary Wharf.
yeah,
I'd get on the Northern Line, I'd get off London Bridge, I'd go to Canary Wharf, and our building was in the plaza.
yeah,
I wouldn't go outside. We had a canteen in the office. I wouldn't go outside, and it was just as I was living, like a rat.
yeah,
And when I started getting back into cycling, I was like, holy shit, like this is the kind of bit that I've been missing, even if it's just commuting or if it's dicking around, meeting some of our friends, and you just decide to do a 4-stop cafe run and you've done 40k. I
yeah,
think it's just a real kind of privilege, I'd say, to be able to cycle in London. And we've moved to Surrey. We may move back, but it is certainly one of the drawing features of us going back, I would say. How
yeah.
about you? What's it for you?
What I like is you can do whatever ride you kind of, apart from like I guess mountains, but you could do any sort of ride that you want to. You can do
Mm.
a flat training ride by yourself, like you just go in maybe like the inner circle in Regents. You could do a big chain gang where you like absolutely shell each other and try and beat each other up on the bike around Regents. You can go up 1k climbs at like 7% in North London. There it
Mm.
must be about 25 different climbs you can do around Hampstead and Highgate. What was a good fun one would be doing like North London Hills with Chain Gang on like a Saturday morning, and then ending up in the Woodman pub at like 11 a.m. after finishing it and like having frozen margaritas. Then it's
Brilliant.
all the coffee shops you can go for, like independent ones. Just if you're in a small group, just put your bikes outside, go in, get your coffee, or you can go to Fortitude where there's like tons of other people on bikes. There's lots of different groups, depending on what your mood is. If you're getting into racing, there's like I guess clubs that really focus on racing. If you're more about the community spirit, there's clubs about that now where there wasn't used to be.
Mm.
And then if you're like more of like I want to join a traditional bike cycling club, there's all of those still exist as well. So you've got like a real dynamic and diverse, I guess, landscape. as well as like you can go down cycle paths and see like iconic things like the London Eye and Big Ben, and cycle through Westminster and cycle down like, not that I'd recommend it. You can go down to Oxford Circus to like Tottenham Court Road, and you can see the do like the bridge ride, I think it is, where you go over all the bridges and see all the sights, go down to like Thames Barrier and back, down all the back roads, and it's probably quite nice. And of course, there's quite a lot of just cobbled streets waiting for you to slam and pretend like you're Fabian Cancellara or Tom Bunnan in Paris-Roubaix, if you so desire.
Speaking of which, there are rumours around London about a potential spin cycle end of season ride. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but in March, the details will be revealed. The route will be revealed, and we look forward to seeing you there. NJ, how can people find out about our podcast? Where are we at in the world?
We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. We're on all of the podcast, I guess, channels, streams. I don't know what the official term is for them. So if you go into the show notes of this show, you'll be able to find everything. We also have a link tree, I think, on all the social medias, so you'll be able to go through all of them. On screen, if you're watching this, we'll put a link up. The main source is the Instagram, which is spin_cycle_podcast, and then on the Strava we are, what are we? Spin Cycle Podcast on the Strava as well.
Follow us there. We'll put the details of the rides. You'll also get the socials for who's going to be on the podcast and all of the kind of the behind the scenes stuff of what goes on a daily basis with us. So that's it for this week. Thank you for tuning into our first one. We look forward to speaking to you next week, and our first guest is going to be Yannick White from Chain Gang Cyclist. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.